Hey guys, Uncommon Ramen here. 'Tis the season for the Kickstarters to start coming in. I know that we're in the middle of a big shipping crisis, and that sucks, but we're still seeing them roll right in. So today we are going to take a look at a game called Mini Rogue. Now, I know in the last video that I did, which I think was for Dice Command, it didn't seem like I knew much, and I rarely do. With these things, but in the case of Dice Command, I was really looking at the game for its strategic value and its component quality, obviously. That's what I fell in love with. And while I didn't know a great deal about it, I did glean the amount of strategy the game had into it. So I fell in love. Mini Rogue is a little bit different. I know a little bit more about Mini Rogue. We are delving into a dungeon. It is something that you can play solo or with two people, and well, yeah, we'll just jump in. It has a lot of story cards to it, so it's going to be interesting to look at that. So this is a coaster that came with my Kickstarter. Not sure why they had to do it in a coaster form, as it's dangerously damageable, but you know, is what it is. But this here, it says you can do additional quests with this. So this is just a cool way to keep the game fresh. We'll just put that off to the side. I guess that makes sense. So this is what Mini Rogue is. A little tiny box, but there's just a whole lot of content. And I am a huge fan of the art style here. We're gonna jump into the box here. Let me get my knife. Okay, we're gonna jump in. Mini Rogue was one of those that I had backed specifically because it was solo play, and since we were in the middle of a lockdown due to quarantine, it became evident that I was going to need a lot of solo play games. Unfortunately, as you can see, this has just now reached my mailbox, and so therefore, you know, we're not, at least here in California, we're not observing a lockdown right now, and it is kind of late, if you will. You can see that the box has spot gloss on it, so we got our spot gloss knight, and you can't really tell from the angle here, and I can't seem to get a good angle on there, but the Mini Rogue part is also spot gloss, so very nice. And the side of the box also has spot gloss in the Mini Rogue title as well, so just really, really good paying attention to the detail there. The box is relatively light, and it actually seems like it has a lot of room in here, and the reason I bring up how much room is in here is because there's some components that I want to show you that I'm not really sure why they didn't get put into the box. So here is the rulebook, and this is definitely thicker than the last rulebook that we did, the Dice Command rulebook, so little concerned about how much time we'll have to go into this to learn it, but it is still a beautiful looking rulebook. I'm not gonna deny that. So I'm noticing here why some of these other components may not have been put inside the original box, and that could be because they may have kept it aside for upgrade. This is another one of these games that will likely see retail. So it'd be cool to have stuff set aside for upgrades. Stonemaier Games does that all the time. And you know, a lot of mindful companies will do the same thing, just because, you know, some games become beloved. There's a lot of information going on here. We got some room card anatomy, iconography, item cards, monster and boss cards, trap cards, tomb cards, bonfire cards, merchant cards, treasure cards. There are so many types here. Shrine cards, reference cards, ghost, room card resolution, a whole table of contents for the iconography. A little bit about the end of the game. 2-player cooperative rules, because you can play a 2-player, but it's mostly a solo game. For all that solo gaming I do. Combat stances. Oh, there's a campaign mode even. This is pretty in-depth. I'm not gonna lie, I had originally backed it because it was solo play and because it has a really heavily story-driven format. But as they developed it and they continued to go on, it just had a lot of additions to it that make it a really interesting looking game. So that is the Mini Rogue rulebook. We're going to take a look at... There's a little leaflet in here that... I don't really know why they included this as a separate part. Oh, this must be the cheat sheet, actually, now that I think about it. Right, because it has the setup right here, then the turn sequence, the iconography right here, combat, effects, character skills, feats, skill checks, difficulty modes. So I'm assuming this is a crib sheet. It's weird to me that this is in the form of a, like, literal page, and not something a little bit more substantial. But the reason I bring this up is because something that I noticed outside the box was something identical, and I'm wondering... Here, let me get a better focus on that. I'm wondering if... or what the difference is here. Somewhere on here there has to be a difference, otherwise it makes no sense why they would have two of these. I'll have to get back to you guys on this one. I'm not really sure, but either way, it comes outside the box, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to be because they messed up with the one that was inside the box. Needless to say, the lack of protection of these you could probably remedy with just a little bit of lamination. But that's, you know, your choice. We're going to take a look at these components. We got some cubes, we got some dice, we got some cards, we got some counters, and it looks to be like some player mats. So let's get into some detail here. So we got some player mats here. These appear to be the dungeon and just some levels in that dungeon. The sewers, the dungeon, the catacombs, the sunken keep. I don't know if those are different levels of a single dungeon or if those are just different difficulty levels. Then we have what also... Oh, okay, so this is a monster HP tracker. That's pretty neat. So on the back side, we have the tower, which appears to be a different dungeon. And this one has the vertigo heights, the windy climb, the slippery steps, and the gate. With another monster HP tracker on the side here. Next up, we have some tokens here. A blind side and a not blind side. We'll just pop these guys right out. There's only 4 tokens here. I don't actually know what these are for. They're actually substantially thick. I don't know if we can see a good view of that, but these are not your typical thickness. So that's pretty cool. I mean, these are really, really high quality. Then up here we have I would have to say this is probably the player board. On the back we have talents, maybe? Get some relics. What looks to be like talent trees. There are 2 of these. They're the same on both sides. So I'm guessing that's talent trees. But these are definitely player boards. Next up we have the... No, I don't want to go over the dice yet. The dice are really cool, and I'm going to save those for next. Because we just want to look at some of these cubes that we have available. Got a couple meeples here. Like I said, this is a 2-player game. Or it's actually a solo game with the possibility of being 2 players. And so we have what appears to be a wizard meeple and a warrior meeple. So that's pretty cool. I'm actually really impressed by those. That was really cool. Then we have cubes here. These cubes are stuff to keep track of, and I'm guessing by color here. The blue is your HP cube, or no, your XP cube. The red is your HP cube. We got this gray armor cube, a gold cube, and a brown food cube, as well as some purple potions, I suppose. That's my guess. Yeah, we have these cubes. It's important that they're cubes, which you will see why later. Next up, we have the dice, and the dice are probably my favorite part here, so let's just take a look at these. I love dice. I love dice. They hate me, but I love dice, and I love dice rolling. So we have what looks to be our typical D6 with our crit side all... Oh man, try and get a focus on a die, yeah? With all that little sunbursty goodness. We have these 2 little... Is it 2? Yeah, 2 little purple dice that have a whole lot of blank sides. And what... Oh, I guess it's 3 blank sides and 3 skull sides. Not sure what those dice are used for, but I'm guessing based off the skulls that it's probably nothing good. We have some green dice here that have 3 water droplets and 3 blank sides. We have another beautiful black D6 with the little sunbursty 6s. We've got a couple of D6s with some different iconography here. We got the 5, the 4, the 3, the 2, and the 6. The 6 looks to be like definitely a great roll versus the 5, which is almost there, but then you have the 1 side as what I would guess is a miss, and the rest of these dice are exactly the same. So I'm guessing, you know, you probably don't want to see this side. Yeah, that's probably not in your best interest, whereas the 5-6 here is like good territory. I like that I honestly, it's these little details. These really, this is not your ordinary D6. Like, just having that 6 lit up like that really speaks to what they're trying to do with this game, and I just really love that. And it's the same with the 5 and 6 on here, or even the 1 really is. It's like, okay, you do not want to roll a 1. So I don't know, I think that is a really cool idea. All right, next up we're gonna take a look at the monsters. Is it just monsters? It looks like it's just monsters, so let's get past the shielding here. The protection. And we have just your generic monster. Then down here we have just a little... Oh, I see here. So generic monster, and then it kind of shows what kind of monster it is based off of what I assume you roll. the back of it is just a dungeon card. So as you're, because you actually, now that I think about it, I should show it from the back, right? So we have a bunch of different cards here. So you can see how the back of the card has a door on it, and as you're building your dungeon, you're going to place the cards face down, so it's going to be random what you're facing. And I think it's a 3x3 grid. Yeah, that's what it is, 3x3 grid. And I believe you're supposed to seed it with one of these red cards as well. And these are exits. You can see by the door down, or I mean stair down symbol there. So that indicates that it's an exit. So these ones right here are going to be your typical monsters filling out the dungeon, whereas these other ones are possibly bosses, or no, maybe not. Maybe just a difficult monster that gets you to the next room. So we have a monster, and then down here we have a table of what this monster can be, and then that is not unlike the remaining cards, so like monster and what they could be, monster and what they could be. And that's where kind of the genius of this game comes in, is that as you reveal these, you're also going to be rolling dice, and you can see here, if you get a 1 to 2, you're in the Warrens. And then it just kind of tells you, you know, an X is a failure, anything above a 2 is, you know, or at least I assume that's what that is. You can see, like, we have traps, treasures, or the possibility of what looks to be a mimic, another treasure, a bonfire, hermit. Wow, this kind of has a reminiscent feeling of Slay the Spire in some form or another. But as you go through the dungeon, you can kind of see here, like, you got some flavor text here, and then what we're looking at. I just think that they just pay attention to such small details, and that really is what makes a game, in some cases, deeper, and especially in this case. The replay value on it is going to be incredible, because we're talking about RNG here. There's just no way that, you know, the game is going to be the same 2 times around. Then we have these other door cards, door deck, I guess is what I was going for there. And this one's going to have what I would think is going to just be really difficult monsters. Or straight up, I mean, I guess these are bosses, like Spider Queen, Og's Remains, the Ghoul. And that's just downright scary. But then that leaves me wondering what these are. Oh, these are you! Okay, so these are classes that you can play. And you can kind of see there's actually quite a bit to choose from here. Some combat stance cards. Push that off to the side. Then I have this, what it looks like a double-sided card. I'm not too sure what this is. It's got some treasures on the back, rewards on the back, and then a ghost on the front. I don't know if that's like your final boss or what it is, but that's what comes in the base game of the box. Now, I wanted to show you some of the other stuff that came with the Kickstarter, and this is why I said that the cubes are so important, is because they give you a secondary set of in-set player boards here, where the cubes can sit without shifting, and you can kind of see when I put this in here that it's nicely planted in there. And this appears, because it's separate from the rest of the box, I assume that it is going to be an add-on that, you know, other people can pick up at an additional cost. But for those of us who kickstarted it, is something that was already available in the game. And then we have the dungeon board as well, and it's you know, slotted on both sides. So that it's just really cool that they added that. And then on top of all of that, we also got a couple of small expansions for this as well. This is the biggest of the two. We'll go into that one last. So we'll look at this one right here. This is Mini Rogue, The Old Gods, and we're going to take a look at what this is. This game was a game that had been released, but I think as a print and play only. So this is their like full-on game, and so this is a player class. We got a player class, some new doors, and a new boss. So I guess you can be a skeleton if you want to be, which is interesting. So our boss is the necromancer. You can just see the stats there, and then some extra new goodies for the dungeon, just in case it got a little bit repetitive. And then we have our competitive... Oh, because you can play competitively, I guess, now. Next up, we have Glittering Treasures. Hop into this guy real quick. Hopefully I don't do too much damage. Sorry for the off-camera moves here. We got the shrink wrap opened. Pull that off to the side. Alright, Glittering Treasures is foil. So that's what I was thinking. I wasn't going to say anything until I jumped into it, but it is a foil set of cards, and it's foil on both sides, which is impressive, to say the least. But that also kind of broadcasts whether you have a Glittering Treasures or not. And I can't get the packaging open here. Let's take a look at these, because this is actually some beautiful foiling. Very, very glossy. So these are all red doors except for this ghost here. Are these just reprints of... It is! These are just reprints of... No, it's not. Well, there's the Ghoul, the King's Protector, the Cursed Dragon, the Spider Queen, Ogg's Remains, and the Necromancer. So these two, the Heliomancer and the Troll, must be part of the other expansion that I haven't looked at yet. So these are just foil cards that you could put in place of the bosses from all the other sets. It's a completely unnecessary expansion, but I mean, the production value on it is so beautiful that honestly, you know, I'm not gonna complain. I usually hate foil, but that's really beautiful. So that's some spoiler alerts right there as we jump into the final expansion here, which is Depths of Damnation, and we can kind of already see some of what we got there because the two bosses were spoiled there, but needless to say, expansion is just a addition to whatever else is given to you in the game. And the box here, if you can just see right there, is also spot gloss, which is just, I mean, those little details matter, at least to me, and I think that's pretty awesome. It came with some rules, so Depths of Damnation. What are we talking about here? Some Cursed Relics, a Bandit, Traps, Secret Passages, Lore cards. This is what I was talking about. These lore cards are what really sold me on this game. Not to mention that you can play it solo. Not that, you know, not that the quarantine lasted in time for me to really enjoy that, but let's take a look inside. We got some new monsters. We got ourselves this little Rat King dude, a Bandit, he looks mean, a Trap, Library, Fountain, the Heliomancer, so we're in our bosses, the Troll. Got some new classes, the Thief as opposed to the Rogue, the Cleric, the Witch, Cursed Relic, Secret Passage. And then we have our story cards, and this is honestly one of my favorite parts of this. So we're going to look at these with as much time as I can give, because I don't want to go too long on this. The Adventurer, Moving Colors, the Codex, Alchemical Table, the Hint, the Cult, the Old Library, Illusory Wall, the Brothers, the Mechanism, the Villager, the Rats, Gelatinous Cube, the Lost Merchant, the Flood and the Altar. Let me just make sure. Yeah, these aren't double-sided. Okay. The Explorer's Gift, the Question, the Amateur Alchemist, the Reflection, the Rivulet, the Portal, the Well, the Selenomancer, and the last one here is the Council. And that makes up the story cards in here. It was something that was specific to the Depth of Damnation expansion, but honestly really helps to deepen the theme of this game. So that is what you get with Mini Rogue. If you Kickstart it, you're going to get all these expansions and everything, but you can buy them separately. I think these boards are honestly just absolutely incredible. They did such a great job. The components are just so much fun. It's just a really cool looking game. And that is that. If you have any comments, leave them below. If you have any questions as well. Yeah, if you like the video, please like and subscribe. And if you would like to help support me on this content, consider backing me on Patreon under the name Uncommon Ramen. I do this in my free time, so any amount of support that I can get really helps me to bring more of this content to the table. So just swing on by there if you feel the need to, you know, show me some love. And until next time, guys, peace.